Okay, Quad Nine's here with an EDH deck tech. As you can see here, it's Sidisi Brood Tyrant. I've been tweaking on this deck for a good little while. I'd wanted to build a Sidisi deck ever since she was first spooled, just because I like the colors and I don't know, just I like graveyard themed decks mostly. And then I heard on the Command Zone podcast, I heard the one with Brian David Marshall, and he talked about his Sidisi deck, which is basically a spider spawning deck, which, you know, this deck has a lot of the same cards that I got from his list, and I put a few other little things in there that I like. So anyway, I'm pretty happy with it, and I just finished it, so thought I'd show it off. It plays, I think, 10 basics, but we've got 3 islands. I couldn't decide on which art, so I just went with one of each. Just 2 swamps. A lot of the duels have black in them, have an Urborg, so you know, don't need basic swamp too often. I think 5 forests. That glare is killing me. Let me see what I can do with that. Not a whole lot, apparently. So, yeah, sorry about the glare. But, anyway. Evolving Wilds. Nephalia Drownyard. Obviously, I usually mill myself. Occasionally, somebody's library gets real low. I could go that route, or if they just get, you know. So, kind of an alternate win condition, but usually I just mill myself to make different things. Alchemist Refuge allows me to play stuff on my opponent's turn. And, you know, it's in the colors. And I like being able to do that. You know, just a land, so it's almost like a free spell. Got Temple of the False God. This one is French, but pretty good card to have in any EDH deck. Strip Mine. Honestly, this was Wasteland, but I don't have a Judge or Player Rewards Wasteland, and I want the deck to be pretty much full if it could be, with like one exception, I think. But yeah, and I thought, well, you know, Strip Mine's just technically better, so why not go with Strip Mine? And Urborg, this is the altar that I got off of Puka Trade. Just somebody had a contest and I came in second, and they just sent this to me. So yeah, I really like it. Of course, it's done really well. So put that in just about any deck that runs black. Datmore Salvage. I think it might be the only dredge card I run, but you know, it taps for black, and just having the extra value of being able to dredge and trigger different things in the deck is important. Bajuka Bog is the card I hate to see the most from another deck, but I need it sometimes myself. Even though some of my cards count things in all graveyards, but this, sometimes somebody's running a little bit more Reanimator than I am. So it's good to always have one. Command Tower, just basically needed any EDH deck that's not monocolored. Opulent Palace, the Tri-Land for this. Yapamai Coast. My only 1-drops are green or blue, so definitely won't be able to have green or blue untapped mana on turn 1. So the couple life I might use on this is worth it, just to be able to play stuff in the early turns. Creeping Tar Pit, Sweet Manland. I'll probably get the ones coming out soon in Battle for Zendikar block for the other colors, but that's the one I have right now. Dismal Backwater, Jungle Hollow. A lot of people don't run these come in and play tap lands, but I find that, you know, as long as it fixes my mana, very rarely do I have to, like, you know, I don't have to cast a 4-drop on turn 4 or a 3 on turn 3. I like being able to play something out in the first couple turns, but usually I can sequence my plays to where it doesn't really slow me down, and the mana fixing is a little bit more important in a 3-color deck. Drowned Catacomb, Woodland Cemetery. I got Demir Aqueduct. I run all the bounce lands because I do have untap effects, and, you know, a land that taps for 2 is just better to untap. Golgari Rot Farm and Cement Growth Chamber. Also run the temples because I do like the scry. Temple of Deceit, Temple of Malady, and Temple of Mystery. All of the shocks. Got Watery Grave, Overgrown Tomb, and this is Japanese from Gatecrash, but Breeding Pool. Only running 1 fetch right now besides, you know, Evolving Wilds. I don't know, just I had Polluted Delta, so I put it in here as long as it can go get my only true duel in here, which is Underground Sea. Like I said, normally I really want to make sure I can I got a lot of double blue, some double black cards. So I really want to be able to get these colors out if I need to. Only run 2 artifacts in the deck. Soul Ring, which you generally should probably just run every EDH deck. So run Soul Ring and Altar of Dementia, and this card is amazing. I can mill people out with it. I can also just get a lot of value out of my creatures. They don't usually point removal at them because I can just sack them in response. Also, somebody has a board wipe. I can. There's just a lot of triggers I can do with it. So it's anytime you can have a free sack outlet, especially in a graveyard deck like this, it's pretty good. Demonic Tutor. This is the only card that can be fooled that's not, mostly because the Judge Fool is like $300, and I actually like this art better because, especially with the whole Liliana origin story that's been out recently, this of course is one of the demons that she made a pact with. So, and I like it from the Divine versus Demonic dual deck, but yeah, definitely like this one. Stitched Together almost always has Threshold, so it's 2 mana reanimate. I'll say it right in a minute. But with no life loss or any drawback or anything like that. It's just graveyard to play if you have 7 or more cards, and like that I usually do. So, Oversold Cemetery. This is basically draw target creature in your graveyard because I almost always have 4 more. I do miss the trigger sometimes, so I've been trying to put dice on top of the deck like you should. But yeah, this is really good. And it's only for you. There's similar cards that do it for all players, but that one's just for you. So, Tracker's Instinct has good synergy with Sidisi because you reveal the top 4 and then put some in your graveyard. And since they're going from your library to your graveyard, it triggers Sidisi's zombie ability. And also it just lets you fill up your graveyard and get some threats in your hand as well. Cyclonic Rift, I was back and forth on running this, but it's such a good card, and if it's not in a ban it, I'm just going to play it. People can't get really too mad at you because usually if you pull the trigger on this, they've got a lot of threats out, and it's blue board wipe, so gotta be good. Memory's Journey kind of keeps me from decking myself or putting cards I need into my graveyard so I can get them back later on. Counterspell. I don't run a ton. I do run a few. A lot of them are the modal cards. This is straight up Counterspell, so I like that. And Mana Drain. These 2 cards are the reasons I need double blue fairly reliably. Demir Charm can counter a sorcery such as a board wipe or something like that, or a big draw spell that's sorcery speed, of course. You can kill a lot of generals actually because a lot of them are 2 power or less, and also the kind of just sift a bit, look at the top 3, then put 1 in your hand and 2 in the graveyard. That also triggers the DC, and you can kind of set up your draws a little bit. Get rid of the stuff you don't want. Sultai Charm, just so many good modes, so gotta run that. Void Slime. Now I talked earlier about Bajuka Bog being a really bad card for me, and you can't counter a land, but you can counter target triggered ability, which it is. So definitely, Void Slime's not bad to have. There's all kinds of silly things you can counter that normally people don't think you can counter. I've also countered an Crater Hoof trigger, so that was fun. Let the Crater Hoof resolve and counter the trigger, so he was sad. This is not available in full, but it's a very sweet card. Unfulfilled Desires. I ran this in Cedrus, the Trader King, when I had a Grixis deck. 1 colorless, pay a life, draw a card, then discard. So you can really fill up your graveyard, go through your deck. It just works really well with this type of deck. For building Alchemy, like a lot of cards, triggers to DC. The flashback is just value and just really being able to churn through your deck, get a lot of velocity. Gnaw the Bone can save you out of nowhere, because I'll have anywhere from 10 to 20 creatures in my graveyard sometimes. And gaining 2 life each, sometimes, it makes combat math really hard if they're trying to alpha strike you. So definitely saved me a couple times. Parallel Lives. I've got a doubling season, but since this deck doesn't really run Planeswalkers, this just doesn't draw near as much hate. And I don't really have... I've got 1 card that deals with counters, but it's so strong that doubling season is just overkill. So that's why I run the Parallel Lives instead. Just got this card in, Nature's Resurgence. I honestly haven't cast it yet, but it says draw cards, which I like. And it says each player, so other players think they like it, but since you draw a card for each creature card in your graveyard, I almost always draw more than anybody else. So it's kind of a group hug card, but I get more advantage most of the time. Plasm Capture, more expensive mana drain, but you do get colored mana of any kind, which is good. And, you know, just like having the extra counterspell. Spider Spawning, make all the spiders. This card, I've made quite a few, especially with like Parallel Lives out. So you can flood the board with spiders, and then they can't profitably attack at any given time. So this card has led to many blowouts. The Dictative Erebos, the Flash is just amazing. And this, along with something like Altar of Dementia, so I can sacrifice things at will and cause everybody else to sacrifice things, definitely worth a spot in just about any black deck. Silumgar's Command, once again, I like all the commands and the charms because the modal nature of them, it's never a dead draw, almost never. Deadbridge Chant, just put 10 cards in your graveyard and you're pretty much drawing a card a turn. Sometimes it just puts creatures right into play. So sometimes that card's Critter Hoof and you kill people. So Treasure Cruise, just too good not to play. It's generally 1 mana draw 3. I don't like delving away a lot of stuff. I have lands at the yard quite often, so like I said, just get rid of them and draw 3 cards. The Great Aurora, it's just a pretty good EDH card in general. I actually have got a deck in Standard that plays it, but I've also got a guy that I play with all the time. He has a Maze's End deck, and it's just really funny to have him have like 7 gates out, and then I cast this, and they shuffle them all back in, and then hits none of them. Or at least, maybe not more than 1 or 2, so it really sets him back. And there's other decks that kind of hoses, but I usually have enough tokens and just creatures in general that I get to draw as much or more than anybody on the table. Hurricane, so I like fireballs, and this is green fireball, and it also kills pretty much every flying creature. So as long as my life is higher than all the opponents, I could actually win the game off of this just by, damage. Villainous Wealth is, if you've not cast this card for more than 5 or 6, you're just not doing it right. But yeah, if you ever get to cast this for any decent amount, it just feels so good to cast people's really good spells and then beat them to death with them. On to the creatures. A lot of creatures. Try and speed this up. I know it's getting a little long. Diligent Farmhand. Nobody's heard of this card because, why would you? But it ramps and it puts a creature in your graveyard when you sacrifice it. So does exactly what the deck wants. Hedron Crab. Once again, you can mill your opponents, but most of the time you're milling yourself. Just early play that fills up your graveyard. Coiling Oracle is just value, and it's a snake elf druid. Sidisi, also a Naga, which is, snake. But yeah, great card. Llanowar Dead. I did have Elves of Deep Shadow in there, but I just kind of like the zombie elf, and it does black without hurting me, and it's an Apocalypse Wolf, so a lot of checks for that card. Urborg Elf fixes all the mana. Sylvan Caryatid also fixes all the mana, but is hexproof, but can't attack, but it's okay. Steve or Sakura Tribe Elder, once again, ramp, fill up your yard, and it's a sacrifice effect, so if you have, Dictate in, you can sack him and make everybody else sack something. Sorry about the glare again. Seder Wayfinder, it gets played in Standard, and it does the same thing in this deck. It gets you land drops and fills up your graveyard for value later. Rift Sweeper, in case, they do get to Bazooka Bog you or exile something important, you can play this and get it back. So I used to have Deadeye Navigator in the deck, basically just to blink this guy to get it back, a bunch of stuff back, but just playing Deadeye Navigator gets you so much hate that it just really isn't worth it. Magus the Bazaar, Bazaar back deck is a very strong card, and this is it on a creature. Draw 2, then discard, so filling up the graveyard and going through the deck. Trigon Predator is just artifact enchantment hate, and it's a flyer. It comes down pretty early, so I've just have people have really aggressive starts with mana rocks and then just wipe them out in a couple turns by hitting them. Nyx Weaver, sweet card, being able to get back any card from your graveyard to your hand at instant speed, and also getting the self-mill action for free every turn. Fills up the yard pretty fast. Mana Gorge Hydra, I was on the fence about cutting this one to keep something else, but it's just too good in EDH, especially multiplayer like, 3, 4 players, it's going to get huge so fast, and having trample, it's really have to. It's really a must-deal threat for your opponents. Splinter Fright also has trample, gets unreasonably large. Being able to move yourself every turn is great. Wood Elves, more ramp, and it does say forest card, so I'm looking to get a bayou for the deck, but you know, it's not the most important. I can just get a basic forest, but just the ramp's good. And a Battle Mage. You may have never seen this card either. The reason I have it in here is, you know, being able. I don't really like making people discard, but a lot of people in my metagame play Blightsteel Colossus, and you have not had fun until you've had them cheat out Blightsteel Colossus some way, and you go to cast this, and you pay the 1 in the black kicker cost, and you tap that creature, Blightsteel, and it deals damage to their controller, so it kills them. So you can kill them with their own Blightsteel for 5 mana. Just food for thought. You have my Granger, more ramp. I pay the Echo sometimes. Most of the time I just put him in the bin. Or he blocks on turn. Crossum Restorer, this is one of the untap effects. And it has Threshold. You untap up to 3 target lands. So make a lot of mana with this little creature here. Night Howler is one of those that counts all graveyards. So if you get this on a trampling creature, it's just really crazy. And since you can, you know, basically you bestow it, so it basically like haste some big trampling creature. Solemn, pretty much every deck should run this guy. Can't think of a reason why you wouldn't. So, ramp, card draw, all the good stuff. Master Biomancer, this is the one thing that really does counters in the deck, but occasionally you can you know, just make all your mana dorks really huge later, all your tokens get really huge. It's not bad. Sometimes you can make more than one of this guy, and then it just gets absurd. Mystic Snake, counter on a creature. Mystic Snake's pretty OP. Nobody ever plays around it, and I love getting people Mystic Snake. Always good. Wonder, being able to pitch this out of nowhere, and all of a sudden all my creatures are flying, and nobody has enough blockers. Just good value. I don't think I've ever cast Wonder, come to think of it. Clever Impersonator. Sometimes you take or you make a copy of somebody's Karn and kill their Karn. Sometimes I make, I don't know, another Master Biomancer or some cool enchantment. It's always the best thing on the battlefield. Having Ghoul Lich, you can cast other people's creatures, your own creatures, then it gets abilities, it just gets silly. So definitely good hard card to have in a graveyard deck. Sultai Soothsayer, just card advantage, and it can trigger Sidisi as well. And here's the other Sidisi. You know, she wasn't real pretty before, but she got ugly real fast. Now she's a zombie Naga. But she's, you know, demonic tutor on a creature, and I don't mind killing my creatures or tokens to do it. So Acidic Slime should just about run an evergreen deck for a catch-all to destroy things that bother you. This is another card, Kessage Cage Breakers. If it ever gets to swing, usually kills people because it makes a bunch of wolves. Just memories of that card in Innistrad Limited is enough to play it. Progenitor Mimic. You always want to make copies of Master Biomancer. That just gets silly real fast. This card draws me more hate, but I still want to play it. Consecrated Sphinx, drawing all the cards, and it's a flyer. It's just tough to deal with. Not much you can say about Consecrated Sphinx that hasn't been said. Croson Tusker, yet another card I don't ever remember casting. You always just cycle it, so you draw a card and get a land. But I guess if you had to have a blocker, you might cast it. Hornet Queen, reanimating this would be more fun, but sometimes you just cast it and make a bunch of Death Touch flying insects. Runescar Demon, a little bit more tutor ability on a big 6/6 flyer. And the last card is Crater Hoof. I make tokens, I make a good bit of them. You know, this usually can win you games you have no business winning. So anyway, that's the deck. Hope the video wasn't too terribly long. Plan on doing a couple more deck techs soon. I've got an update on Euro. I've changed a bunch of cards since the last video of it. I've got a Krinko, or not a Krinko, it's a Goblin deck. I've actually got Ib Halfheart as the commander now, and a couple other ones I'm working on. So hope you liked the video. Please put your thoughts down below. I'm going to put the link to my tapped out list in case you just want to see the list written down. And thanks for watching.